Hello and welcome to another episode of the Project Purple podcast. I'm Dino Varelli, founder and CEO of Project Purple and also the host of the Project Purple podcast. We have another interview for you coming up with a very special guest after a few quick updates. It's crazy. We are already halfway through 2023. When I read this, I go, oh my God, like the year has kind of gone like warp speed. And believe it or not, we're on pace for another record year, which is just absolutely amazing. And I just want to thank everyone who has supported, donated, or participated in a Project Purple event here in 2023. You guys really allow us to do all the great things that we're doing and all the great things we will be doing. And today's podcast is kind of just a culmination of that because we're really super excited to announce what we're going to be doing here in a couple minutes. Many of our fall marathon teams are full, but we still have a couple spots left in our Berlin Marathon team, our Twin Cities Marathon team, our Detroit full half and 5K teams, along with our Chicago full half and the newly added South Norwalk half marathon and 5K. We also have our virtual event coming up here in the late summer, Work Harder, It's Not Chemo, in August, as well as our Horner Hustle 5K, which takes place physically in Park Ridge, Illinois, at the end of August. As well, we've got a new event that we're launching in September in Hartford, our urban rappelling called Over the Edge in Hartford, which is happening on September 16th as we go over the edge for Project Purple and to raise awareness for pancreatic cancer. To learn more about all these great events, visit our website at projectpurple.org and make sure to follow us on social media, wherever you are on social media, to stay up to date to all things Project Purple. That was like 3 minutes of updates, but it wasn't quick.
Well, I might run a 5K at this point. Throw me in.
There we go. There we go. Without further ado, let's meet our special guest today, coming to us all the way. I said all the way. That's not that far. From the greater Boston area. We won't give your exact location. We don't want, after this podcast, you might get some
stalking.
Fans, some stalking. We're coming outside of the Boston area. The co-founder and CEO of Nutre Meal Plans, Valentino Perrina. Welcome to the Project Purple podcast, my friend.
Thank you. I feel like I just walked into like WrestleMania. And they're like, kick down the door.
We need music. So cue the music, please.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm excited. So as the audience can probably tell if you're watching or you're listening, I'm super pumped. I kind of teased this in the intro here. 2023 is on pace to be a record year. Last year was our best year ever. You and I have been literally talking since the late third quarter. I think it was the third quarter last year, man.
Yep.
And we were talking about you guys, which we're going to share here about what you guys do, but just to give some backstory, so it's relevant here. You and I connected mid last year, talking about all the great things you guys were doing. You guys supported us in November, which we'll talk about briefly here. And then now we're full speed ahead with being able to really impact. I am so stoked for this. And even when we came up a couple months back to do the site tour and do a bunch of video content that'll be releasing probably before this podcast comes out, as the announcement, the really official announcement comes out, I'm just so stoked for this because I don't think, and we've looked, I mean, there's groups that do this to some capacity, but to the capacity that we're doing it in terms of dollars, and then in our space in the pancreatic cancer world, no one's ever done this. So just really, really excited and jazzed to have you here on the podcast to share with the audience, to not keep people guessing here. We are launching a food assistance program. You guys are a partner in this. It's a $200,000 investment, $100,000 from us. You guys are matching the $100,000. Mm-hmm. We're going to make that $250,000. I know you and I talked about that. We're finding more dollars because $250,000 sounds a lot better than $200,000.
Yeah. $500,000 now.
Yeah. So, we're just super excited. You guys have a great thing going on there with Nutre. And, it's just awesome to be able, we always talk about like, how can we help people going through this? And food assistance here at Project Purple has been the number one demand the last year, clearly with inflation and with a lot of other factors that have been happening globally. food has become such a priority for so many people battling pancreatic cancer. And now we're able to offer families healthy, nutritious, high quality meals via our relationship with Nutre. So super excited to get this going, but let's talk a little bit. I want to share your story because you guys have a great story with how you guys came up with the concept, your background, everything. So let's get into it, Valentino, and let's talk a little bit about that. Just share with our audience kind of the backstory about this, and maybe a little bit about, yourself and your brother Luciano and Angelo as well that are involved in the business.
Yeah, for sure. So we are, to go like really ground one, is my parents are my parents came here from Italy. They moved here in like their 20s ish, like 25, 26 or late 20s. So we've always been food people. Obviously, just it's in our blood. We grew up very hardworking. Me and my brothers, we always played sports. We're always kind of independent in our own little ways. We're very different, but similar in our own ways. Like I have a huge, benefit. He has a weakness. I have a strength. He has a weakness. We kind of go back and forth with our personalities. And then as we got older, my oldest brother, Angelo, who's 37 now, had an opportunity to buy a restaurant 2009, 2008, when the economy was pretty rough. So we bought a restaurant there. My dad helped him buy it. From there, it's an Italian restaurant. We opened up another one together as brothers in 2000. I want to say like 16, 17, that range. We did that together as a three brothers. And we, during that same time frame, we opened up Nutre. So the story behind Nutre is we're all working the restaurants together. My oldest brother was working the kitchen. So he was a lineman at Endicott. He was a Division III football player. So he was a bigger dude, 6'2". His natural weight is probably like 290, 280, 270. But after he worked at the restaurant, being in the kitchen, he had so much accessibility to food, and not necessarily healthy food, right? You're in an Italian kitchen. So there's chicken cutlets, there's bread, there's sauce, there's meatballs, there's butter. It's just all sorts of fun stuff. So he got up to 400 and I want to say 30 pounds was his peak. And that's just not a healthy weight. He looked terrible. His mood was horrible. He had sleep apnea, still has sleep apnea, but it was terrible. He was borderline wheelchaired. There was a timeline. If he kept that pace, 2 or 3 years, he would have been wheelchair, and he had a young family. And then at that same time, my father had, he still does, has type 2 diabetes, struggled his whole life. And when he went to the doctors, like most diabetics, they just say, oh, you got to eat healthy. So like, okay, but like, what does that mean, right? It's very vague. And it's also for a 50-some-year-old man who doesn't cook and grew up in Italy and stuff. He doesn't know what that is. He's used to pasta, bread, and heavy carbs and stuff like that. So he didn't even know what it is, where to start. So during this time, we had the restaurants, we had the, kitchen staff, we had all this accessibility to cook. So me and my brother said, let's start meal prepping you, essentially. At the time, there wasn't many companies doing it around locally. So we started meal prepping my oldest brother. And he lost about 100 pounds in about an 8 month to a year time frame, which was magical. It was insane to see. When you watch someone's transformation go from 430 to that mid to low 300s, it does a huge change. People think it's just physical. It's not. He could sleep. His sleep apnea was better. Just more energy with his family. I mean, your entire life changes mentally and physically. He had a real struggle with just fitting in airplanes, for example. He always had to buy a first class seat. He was very uncomfortable. The strap never went over his stomach. Like, there's a lot of things that heavyset people go through that is unsaid, but it really puts an impact on their mental. On the other side of it, my father. So if you know anything about diabetes, there's a lot of studies that say, food is really only cure of diabetes. They can revert type 2 diabetes with food. So we put that to the test with my dad. So he had really bad type 2 diabetes. He was overweight, insulin shots every day. After, I want to say, about 4 or 5 months of us meal prepping him, very basic stuff, he got off his insulin. His energy was way better. His hair looked thicker. His energy, his face, he had no bags in his eyes. He was sleeping. It was insane to see. It really was. It was incredible to see. His blood pressure was great. Cholesterol was fixed. His sugar, his management of his sugar, his glucose was way better. And it was only for about 4 or 5 months. So at that time, we saw those results and we said, you know what? Let's open this up to friends and family, cooking out of the restaurant. So my oldest brother was cooking. Me and my other brother, Lucio, we were packing and delivering. So it was a whole 4-man show. And we opened up to friends and family, started with like 20 people, 30 people. We bought a website. In 2018, we officially launched with a new website. Website crashed, this whole crazy thing. It was a crazy story. And then now, fast forward, 4 years later, 2023, we're in a 30,000 square foot facility that we own. We do probably about 45 to 50,000 meals a week, servicing about 3,400, 3,500 clients now, and having amazing partnerships with really fun people and really helping anyone who deals with diabetes to general health stuff, or just anyone who just wants to eat healthy, because there's a lot of people like that, like myself. I'm 30 years old. I have no health issues really. I just want to generally eat healthy. I don't want to gain weight. Kind of want to maintain. I have maybe lose 5-10 pounds, right? Everyone can always lose 5-10. And this is kind of that service that we created. So we make these fully prepared, healthy, delicious meals. That's kind of restaurant quality. We're saying restaurant quality can sometimes be a trigger for some people, but to me, it is restaurant quality. It's restaurant quality food. We use a lot of the same ingredients, just a lot of cleaner, right? So we use that, and then we deliver it right to your door. So we realized that delivery was a huge part of this business, and experience was a huge part of the business. So coming from a hospitality background in restaurants, we said, we're going to give people the best service, the best food with the best quality ingredients that we could possibly buy that's sustainable and cost effective for our clients. And that's what we did. And now I think we're the biggest meal prep company in New England. We're expanding to, we expanded to New York and the tri-state area this past year, which is awesome. We're about to expand down to the entire Southeast, including Florida, in the coming months. So it's a very fun business to be around. We see a lot of great ooh, you saved my life, or, oh my God, I just lost 60 pounds, or, oh my God, this saves me. Like, we have a lot of nurses who just work crazy amount of hours. And usually in the hospitals, there's never really good, healthy food alternatives. So it's a great market for them. So it's a really exciting business to be in. It's a tough business to scale, but we figured it out early on with my oldest brother's experience being good operators and great at logistics. So they just crushed that front. And again, our strength and weaknesses, their strength is that, and my strength is marketing. So we really blend well together, and it's a very fun family business. And we have a ton of employees now, and it's a really tight knit crew, I would say.
So awesome. So, clearly I'm taking notes here. There's so many like golden nuggets here that I caught, and the first one here, I love what you said about like your brother and your dad, like that mental positive attitude, right? Just by eating right. And, we've known each other for almost a year, I guess we would say here. And I know follow you on social, and you're always, in your own way, talking about like these positives, right? Whether it's working out, eating healthy, endurance, sauna, all these great things, these modalities, I guess you would say. But here with food, it's so crazy. I want to go down this rabbit hole. I know we talked about this a bit in person, but it's so crazy how people don't realize like the food that you're eating, how that it impacts you in such a dramatic way.
Oh man, dude. I mean, I could go on this for hours. So, yeah. and I'll just give you the basic scenario that everyone's ever gone through. If you go home and you eat a pizza, and everyone has one of those nights, Uber Eats, whatever it is, and you get a nice fat pizza to your face. The next day, or even that night, you never feel good, right? No. You feel just so heavy, so bloated. It all goes back to like your gut health, right? There's tons of new health between the connection between your gut and your brain and your gut biome and all those chemicals and bacteria that relates all back to your mood. And it's just incredible the difference of diet can make. It can help your anxiety, it can help your depression. It can help obviously your weight management, which is a huge piece of the whole pie of like how you feel. And it's just your serotonin. I mean, there's just so much. If you really look granular and you really look at science and even neurology of how your whole system works, the key, the foundation of everything is going to be your diet. And it's been a shock to me the past 5-6 years that there hasn't been more connections between cancer and food, more relations between food and disease, that people in the hospital space or the care space are not taking massive action because it is so black and white of how much it does impact in a positive way. Yet there hasn't been enough synergy for these hospitals or these clinics or these caretakers to really push forward the true connection, which is food and these diseases and cancer.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my own personal feeling on that is, I guess there's too much money from that sector of those that love to supply unhealthy foods, i.e., the fast food chains of the world. We also know, alcohol, for a lot of people isn't a very good thing in large quantities. The fascinating piece, though, Valentino, is there, at least in the cancer space, in the last 5 years, there has been a lot of fascinating data that points to what you exactly said, that there is this correlation between that gut microbiome and even the microbiome of cancer cells, like to even get it super granular. Like cancer, the gut, the microbiome of those cancer cells feed off certain foods in a
100%.
positive way and in a negative way. You don't want them to be positive. So like sugars, right? Like they know like feeding cancer sugar is not a good thing. It just, it feeds it. It's like gasoline, pouring gasoline on a fire, right? So like having healthy, nutritious meals and having the right quantity and quality is really, really critical. And we've seen that there's data out there, right? I think part of the challenge, and this is where I get super excited about this partnership, is access, right? And that's something that, I think like for some communities and for some people, it's just access to high quality meals. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about let's dive into a little bit about the process at Nutre, because you guys are like really thoughtful, and like, it's not just, you did a great job, but like you mentioned restaurant quality. I think this is like superior than restaurant quality. Cause like you said triggering, which is a great word, because like, hey, I'm Italian. I think everyone knows that's listened to the podcast. We're paisans here. Like we have a very high, okay, let's put this out there. Italian food is the best food in the world, hands down. Anyone can come on and debate me. Let's do it. But
it's historic. It's historical. You look at all the pioneers in the food industry. Everyone comes from Italy. Italy is a very small country. Doesn't have, it's the most beautiful country in the world. We have food as our number one. That you can't take it away from us. You can take away other stuff, just not the food. Yeah.
So that being said, we know high quality food, right? So that's a given, right? So, and that's, I think, something that I understand, what I was saying here, like you say restaurant, like my level of like going to a like really, really good restaurant is really high. Right? Because I know what really, really, really good food tastes like farm to table, water to the table, you name it, we've had it. Italians do it better than anyone. So when you guys talk about like what you're doing, I'd love to like expand a little bit, because like, again, I was up there, we went through the whole process with the chef, the menu, like you guys are putting out some like amazing food in the, like, I know you said restaurant quality. It is like, once you heat it up, it is like being served at like a high quality, high end restaurant, but the stuff is dynamite, man.
So that when in the beginning, when we first started the company, we did some real deep dive searches into why are people stopping diets? Because I think the average person probably goes on like 2 diets a year, correct, 3 diets a year. They just have this epiphany. Oh, I want to start this. Oh, I want to do this. Keto, paleo, whatever. What is making it so unsustainable? And a lot of it is the quality of the food and the variety of the food. People are like, I can't have chicken and rice every single day. I can't do, this. I need variety. I need this. I need better quality stuff. So connecting those dots to kind of create this gourmet style healthy meal prep, to give enough variety that changes every single week, to use the highest quality ingredients, because some people think that you need to get really fancy with some of these dishes. It's very simple. Our ingredients are very simple. Sometimes simple is better. To over flavor things, to try to get too fancy, sometimes actually kill the true flavor. And that's what true Mediterranean, true Italian is. We cook with olive oil, we cook with simple ingredients, but they're high-end ingredients. That's the key. That's what makes things different from A to B. It's a high-end chicken compared to a low-end chicken. The high-end steak compared to a low-end steak. That's really the difference. And again, cooking with high ingredients like olive oil. Olive oil is very expensive to cook with, but it's better than these seed oils like canola oil. Doesn't taste as good, doesn't give enough flavor, doesn't keep as moist. We have different way to cook as well. While we're cooking, There's certain processes and systems that we cook with that makes food fresher longer. And again, we learned that early on with my brother's experience in the restaurants and a lot of trial and error before we launched this thing to really kind of understand food processes. And that's kind of where this whole thing came from. It's really blending our restaurant experience with our true heritage and things how my mom cooked and my grandmother cooked and how our family cooked, taking these simple ingredients, these simple recipes, and putting it into the healthy food space. And that's kind of how we connect the dots there.
And I love that the menu, and full disclosure, we've been using the meal service for quite some time here. So I'm speaking here as an end user.
Yeah.
But I love how you guys also, for our audience listening that is not familiar with the program, you can choose certain types because you guys have like the low carb meals, you have like the dairy free, you kind of pretty much cover the boxes in terms of if there's allergies or if people are eating a certain way, i.e. a paleo diet. Not that, and I know we're going to talk about this here in a second when it comes to, the cancer community. I think the biggest concern is, probably like high protein and really quality, nutritious meals. But if people are eating a certain style or have certain allergies or aversions to certain foods, you guys are covering all those boxes.
Yeah, that's like step 2. So step 1 was make the food delicious. Step 2 was to kind of give enough variety to the masses. So enough gluten-free, enough low sodium, enough diabetic friendly, enough low carb, enough low calorie. And to do that while keeping the flavor and quality as high as possible. That's where the quote unquote struggle with these industries is how do you make good, healthy food taste great? You know what I'm saying? And that is where most people struggle. And that's where we found our niche, is to make gourmet food healthy and sustainable. But to be honest, it is a little bit of a struggle because it is butter, for example, is where a lot of the flavor is in your pasta dishes. When you go out to dinners, they cook with butter, they cook with high fat items, lots of cheese, lots of sauce, lots of this and that. So we just dialed that down, adjusted a couple things in the back end to make everything fit our criteria of what our ethos are for some of our meals. Like our diabetic friendly meals, they have to fit certain guidelines. Our low carb meals, they have to fit under 30 carbs. Low calorie meals under 550 calories. So we all have these little these dietary preferences that fit the masses.
Something that just popped up. So and this is like a statement and not necessarily a question. They always talk about what came first, the chicken or the egg, I guess is the analogy. So it's fascinating, like here, because you guys were in the business and understand food and naturally, having this Italian influence where food is so, growing up in an immigrant family, like food is what brought everyone together. It was what like kept the family together. It's what, people gathered around was food, right?
100%.
And so similar to what you guys have poured into Nutre, is just like coming from that food experience and having the experience that you had, I bet you is why you guys are doing what you're doing with the quality of it and everything else, which is just like, I just try to connect the dots here. And I don't know if you've ever seen it that way and the success of it versus like coming at it from, well, hey, logistically, we know we can have a kitchen in this area and then we can service these areas and get these ingredients and put everything together and make these meals. But for the audience listening, if you have not, this is a testimonial. These meals are absolutely, and again, I am a snob when it comes to food. There's a couple of things in life. I do not sacrifice food. If it tastes like shit, I do not eat it. And I will not have it. And I will tell you, I have not had one disappointing meal with Nutre. I've loved every single one. And I know we talked about one of my favorites is probably, I think simple, is your bison chili, which is like unbelievable.
Because what's funny? The other key thing, well, thank you, by the way. Thank you. The chef Mike's gonna be thrilled to hear that. The key is to this whole thing is people lost track of portion control.
Yeah.
So when you go get lunch, you get takeout, right? And you get a steak tip dinner, and there's steak tips and there's rice pilaf. That's what I used to get. People don't realize how much you're getting in a serving.
Correct.
So, for example, they'll sit down, they'll say, I ate healthy today. What'd you eat? I had steak tips and rice pilaf. Great. You really look and you measure how much of that stuff is in what you ate. It's like triple the amount of what your normal serving size should be. It'll be a massive, huge bowl of rice pilaf with 8 steak tips, and people eat that in one serving. That is another key thing of people don't necessarily understand sometimes is the portion control is massive in sustainability. And that's another key part of it. If you have 3 Nutre meals a day, or let's just say 4 Nutre meals a day, you will lose weight. And you might not realize it because you're filling and it's filled while you're eating, but it's about the portion control.
Correct.
People don't realize the size of the dinners and the lunches you're having at these restaurants or Uber Eats. They're just far too big. Oh, I had sweet green today. Great. But that sweet green salad is far too big, for one serving. And the dressings are probably getting up to 1,500 calories per one salad. So
it's insane.
Yeah.
But I think, okay, so, there's 330 million people in the United States and we have 150 million pre-diabetics or diabetics, right? So half the US population. And, I laugh always, and you probably have a group of friends too. And I'm not trying to shame anyone. Listen, I am an overeater. I admit it.
Right.
Like if there's really good food in front of me, I will eat probably, twice the portion that I should. But I also run 5 to 6 times a week and work out 6 days a week. So I feel like that's my balance a bit. Not that that's a perfect science, but it works for me and that's what goes. But I think here in the United States, we've become accustomed to oh man, like Jimmy's Sandwich Shop, man, you get like the foot-long hoagie for $9.
Of course.
It feeds you for a week, but we'll have it for lunch, right? Probably not the most nutritious thing. So, coming back to this, though, coming full circle here a bit, like what you guys said in the beginning, what your dad, like eating right. And so this is the other piece of that, right? Like the guesswork is all taken out, right? Like we know, by eating one of these meals, it's high quality protein, high quality meals. You're getting what you should be getting in terms of caloric intake, portion, right? And all the guesswork in terms of cooking and everything is all taken out because all you got to do is warm it up and it's ready to go.
Right. And the other key thing that is really important and people who've ever tried to go on a weight loss journey or someone on a healthy journey period has gone through, usually a doctor or someone or a trainer will say track your macros. Okay, perfect. When you go home and you try to cook for yourself and you try to portion and weigh out how many ounces of protein, how many calories, you don't even know where to start. Or I put in a teaspoon of olive oil to cooking. Do I add that to my macros? Yes or no? There's so much gray when you're cooking for yourself to try to calculate what your macros are. And so many people don't know how to do that. With us, with our meals, you look exactly how many proteins, how many fats, how many calories, all the ingredients. There's a short ingredient list. There's not crazy gums and these crazy different ingredients in your meals. Everything is so black and white. So you know exactly what you're eating every single day. So if you are trying to do a caloric deficit or you are trying to be under a certain amount of proteins a day or fats a day or whatever it is so easy to track because it's right on each menu, each meal. And I think that's also so important for sustainability.
So awesome. One of my last questions here. It's amazing what you guys are doing. You're a for-profit business, but why give back to nonprofits? Because I know we're not the only one. I know you've worked with others. You've done, you guys have these great low-calorie donuts. They're actually very, very good. And you usually pick like a cause. I know during the pandemic, from doing our research, you guys were like giving away, and everyone was, but like I always say, like I knew a lot of friends in pizza business, sandwich place, restaurants, they were doing this for the first responders. But you didn't have to do that. There was no stipulation to anything. People were just doing that out of goodwill. So I always say, those are special people. But so why give back?
I think that my parents, when we grew up, that money is money, right? Like money is obviously very important, but your purpose in life, which is your purpose, what makes you feel whole, what fills your voids, what makes you feel when you go to sleep at night really whole is giving back and helping others. If you're not doing that, you're relying 100% on the money that you have in the bank, 100% on the figures that you're doing on a weekly basis in your business. I just don't think you're going to live a fulfilled life. With giving back and purpose and seeing testimonials and seeing people that you're giving back to and seeing the response to that, I think that's what fills the void. I think that's what people are on this planet for, are here for. If you're religious or not, you're spiritual or not. I think giving back is a huge piece of this puzzle of your life, right? Like whatever you believe in, we live once here. And I think connecting with other people, connecting with people who are less fortunate or more fortunate, and giving back is what makes this life complete and whole. And if you're not doing that, I think you're missing a huge piece of it. So food is a big piece, obviously, with people giving to people who are less fortunate. When we give, I think about 60 or 70,000 meals to a shelter bank, that the food bank that gives away to other people, and then connecting with cancer patients who really have so much to deal with, right? They got their families they got to deal with. They're dealing with crazy amounts of treatments and chemos and everything they're dealing with. The last thing you want to think about is their food, or to afford their food. Not even just the food in general, the affordability of it all. So being able to help some of those folks with just business and food that we create, I think it just makes it fills the purpose need of us connecting. I hope it inspires other people to do the same, because I truly think if they're not doing that, they're missing a huge piece of their life. And so again, I think connecting with others is 90% of it.
So powerful, man. And thank you to you and your family for having, really your parents, for raising you guys right, as I would say. The world needs more people like you and your family, because you guys are doing well, super successful, and to be able to give back to those in need. I mean, look, your parents came here. I'm sure people helped them along the way, along their journey. People helped my parents. And that's why, we give back, right? We help other people, just, especially during this time where we are in society. I think sometimes that gets lost. And so it's super refreshing, and it's the message that's needed.
Big time. And for parents too. I mean, it's so hard to be a parent right now, but that should be the number one thing for a parent, to start bringing down to their kids. My father, he grew up in Italy, and he lived on a train for a little bit. He was eating food out of the trash. So he always instilled in us, like, you don't know who that person's going to be. There's plenty of different sayings, like Jesus is in disguise. There could be a homeless person on the side of the road. You have no idea what they've gone through. You have no idea what their background is. That person has a family of parents, kids. He's an uncle to somebody or whatever. So some people just got dealt the wrong hands. And it's up to us and other people and leaders of the world to connect and give back. Because if not, this world can get dark pretty fast, So I think that's the kind of that small beam of light that some of the leaders in this community has to start looking into. You know what I mean? Guys like you, like you need, the world needs more of you and people like us to keep doing that and inspiring the young people to do the same when they get older.
Well, I hope it happens sooner than later, my friend.
Yeah, trust me. Yeah.
Last thing here, man. I want to give an opportunity. So, clearly we're doing this partnership with Nutre for patients battling with pancreatic cancer. But I would ask people listening, watching, if you're just watching the podcast or listening to the podcast just because you love what we do, go out and support these guys, because they're supporting us, allowing us to help that many more people battling this thing called pancreatic cancer. So with that being said, Valentino, where's the best place for someone who wants to have high quality gourmet meals delivered to their home? I know you guys are expanding your footprint, but to learn more, to order food or get involved, where's the best place for them to do that?
So the Instagram account is at Nutre_meals, NUTRE_meals. The website is www.gonutre.com, GONUTRE.com. And then I'm sure you're going to find all the launch and launch details about our partnership, about the pledge of $250,000, $125,000 from Nutre, $125,000 to Project Purple on this food assistance program to all the people in the Project Purple Foundation. So there's going to be just so much fun stuff we're going to start doing the next year. And I'm hoping that's going to inspire some other people and other companies that in the cancer and food space to start connecting more, to give some more alignment.
I love it. And last thing here, I love what you put out on social. So I'm always, the world needs more people putting out positive messages versus negative. So if someone wants to follow you and all the great things, you're a great entrepreneur. I know there's a lot of people that watch our podcast, listen to from all walks of life, all different ages. And I always love promoting people who are putting out that positivity. So where's the best place for people to connect with you on social?
My Instagram for sure, at Valentino Perrina, VALENTINO, Perrina, PERRINA, one word. And you should find my Instagram right there.
Awesome. Valentino, thank you for being on the Project Purple podcast, and thank you for all you're doing for us and everyone looking to eat a healthy lifestyle with Nutre Meal Plans.
Hell yeah, brother. Thanks, Dino.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Project Purple podcast. If you liked today's episode, please share this episode and follow the Project Purple podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. This is a wrap of another episode of the Project Purple podcast. Thanks for listening. Until next time, please be safe.